All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look behind the curtain, so to speak, at insider stock sales.
Uh-huh.
We've got a pretty interesting mix of companies to unpack, some big names everyone would recognize, Netflix, Zillow,
Yeah.
some maybe not so familiar, Donegal Group, Samsara.
Right.
But we're going to dig into what these moves might tell us, both about the companies themselves and what it all means for, well, you, the listener.
You know, it's easy to jump to conclusions when you see insider selling and think, oh, something bad is happening.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's really not always a red flag. Sometimes it's as simple as executives needing to diversify their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
They've got lives too, right? Maybe they need to pay for a kid's college or who knows.
Right.
But the thing is, when you start to see a lot of selling, especially concentrated in certain sectors or, maybe around certain events,
Uh-huh.
that's when it gets really interesting.
So insider trading data, it's more like a whisper in the wind than a blaring siren. It's a clue, not a conclusion.
Exactly. You got it. We're not talking about guaranteed predictions here. This is about using these SEC filings we have as a piece of the puzzle.
Gotcha.
Like, look at Samsara. They jump out right away, 55 insider sales totaling over $160 million.
Whoa.
I mean, that's a big number, right? Especially when you compare it to a company like, say, Intercontinental Exchange. Way fewer sales there. So what's going on?
Yeah, what does it tell us?
Well, Samsara's stock has had a pretty good run lately, so maybe those insiders are just cashing in, taking some profits off the table.
Right.
But it could also be tied to their recent expansion into Europe. Are they worried about the costs? Are they worried about the risks?
Interesting.
Something to think about.
Okay, so even within the same data set, we really need to look at the individual companies, their situation.
Absolutely.
Speaking of individual situations, Netflix, a name everyone knows,
Yeah.
they had a whopping $437 million in insider sales across 37 transactions. I mean, Netflix is practically a verb at this point. Netflix and chill, right? But should we be hitting the unsubscribe button on their stock, too?
Well, you've probably seen the headlines. Subscriber growth for Netflix, it's slowing down.
For sure.
And they're facing some serious competition. Disney Plus, HBO Max, all these other streaming services trying to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah, everybody wants to be in the streaming game.
Right. So some executives taking some profits. It's not that surprising in itself,
Mm-hmm.
but that amount, almost $500 million.
Yeah.
I gotta say, to me, that suggests that maybe some key players are more worried about Netflix's future than they're letting on publicly.
That's a strong statement. I like it. Okay, so we've gone from streaming giants to, what, insurance?
Donegal Group, yeah, they're a regional player, mainly in the mid-Atlantic parts of the South Midwest, which that's important to remember, that regional focus.
Okay.
And they've had 19 insider sales totaling over $6.5 million. Now, on the surface, that might not sound like much,
Right.
especially compared to, a Netflix.
Sure.
But for a company of Donegal's side, it is significant.
Yeah, definitely.
And remember, their business is heavily tied to those specific regions I mentioned.
So what's going on in those regions that could explain this selling? I mean, did a hurricane just wipe out half of their insured properties or something?
Not quite a hurricane, but close. Remember that massive hailstorm that hit the Northeast back in July?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Donegal was hit hard, and they're still dealing with the fallout, all the claims. And you combine that with rising reinsurance costs, which is impacting the whole industry.
Right.
You start to see why their profits are probably going to take a hit. And if insiders knew this was coming ahead of time...
Well, suddenly their stock sales make a lot more sense.
Exact.
I love it, these deep dives. I mean, suddenly these dry SEC filings, they turn into like a real-life business thriller? What other clues are hidden in this data?
Yeah, it really is like we're putting a puzzle together, right?
Right.
Each company is a piece, and when you start kind of connecting them,
Mm-hmm.
you see the bigger picture.
Okay, so we've gone from streaming wars to insurance woes. What other industries are maybe flashing some warning signs through these insider sales?
Let's talk about a company you probably use every day without even realizing it.
Okay.
Equinix.
Equity.
They're in the digital infrastructure space. So think data centers,
Okay.
all those behind-the-scenes services that make the internet work.
So basically, Equinix is the landlord for the internet.
Yeah, pretty much. And they had 19 insider sales totaling over $27 million. Now, the data center industry, it's booming. Everybody needs more storage, more processing power.
For sure.
But it's also incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
You've got Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, all these giants fighting for market share.
So is this insider selling at Equinix a sign that maybe they're getting squeezed out by the big guys?
It's possible. I mean, remember, to stay competitive in the data center world, you need constant upgrades, massive power consumption, top-notch security.
Yeah, it's a high-stakes game.
It is. So maybe some insiders are worried about Equinix keeping up in this arms race, or, and this is purely speculation,
Okay.
but maybe they know something about a new technology on the horizon that could make today's data centers obsolete.
Ooh,
That would definitely explain a rush for the exits.
that's a good one, a data center killer tech. Okay, note to self, do more research on that. Now for something completely different, Getty Images. They're kind of old school in the world of the internet, right?
Yeah, stock photos, videos, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they're feeling the heat of disruption. Getty Images had 21 insider sales totaling over $10 million.
Okay.
And think about it. You've got free stock photo websites everywhere now. Plus, AI is generating images that are getting better every day.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got to be eating into Getty's core business.
This is what's so interesting to me about this whole insider trading thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always about a company doing badly. It's about the direction they're heading in.
Right.
Getty could still be profitable, but if the insiders see the writing on the wall, that their whole model is outdated,
Yeah,
well, they're not going to stick around to watch the ship sink.
exactly. They're making moves while they still can. Survival of the fittest. Even in the corporate world, right?
Absolutely. Let's talk about a company trying to survive in a very different way. The Honest Company.
Yeah.
They built their whole brand as being eco-friendly, transparent, the good guys of consumer products.
Mm-hmm.
They had 16 insider sales totaling almost $15 million.
Right.
And this is a company where perception is everything. You buy their diapers, their cleaning supplies, because you believe in what they stand for.
Exactly.
But lately, they've had some product recalls, some bad press about, not being as honest as they claim.
Right. That kind of thing, it can erode trust really fast.
So are these insider sales saying that maybe the Honest Company's halo is slipping?
It's possible. The consumer goods market, it's fickle. Trends change. New competitors pop up. And scandals, they can damage a brand overnight.
Yeah.
So maybe these insiders, they see a future where the Honest Company can't command those premium prices they need to be profitable.
Right.
Especially as inflation, squeezes everyone's budget.
Okay, so we've covered tech, insurance, media, consumer goods. I mean, are we hitting all the major industries today or what?
Well, we've got one more that I think is worth a closer look.
Okay.
Nexstar Media Group.
Okay.
They're a huge player in traditional television. They own tons of local stations across the U.S.
Traditional TV, I mean, isn't that like dying a slow death thanks to streaming?
That's the question, isn't it? Nexstar had 20 insider sales totaling nearly $30 million.
Okay.
Now, they've been trying to adapt, right? Buying up more stations, getting into digital advertising. But the decline of cable viewership, that's a real problem. And producing local news, which is a big part of their revenue, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So are these insiders basically betting on the future of local news? That's a bold move.
It is.
Or maybe they're just trying to cash out while they still can.
Right.
Look, no one has a crystal ball here.
Right.
But by analyzing these insider moves combined with what we know about the industries, the specific companies, we can start to form a more informed picture of what the future might hold.
I'm loving this detective work. We've gone from, dry SEC filings to like a full-blown Wall Street mystery. What other clues have we uncovered today? Wow, we've covered some serious ground today. From those streaming wars to, insurance worries, the future of data centers, even good old-fashioned TV. Who knew? It's amazing how much you can learn about an industry just by seeing what the insiders are up to.
Yeah, it's like they're leaving us clues, those little breadcrumbs, but it's up to us to actually follow the trail, and see where it leads.
Exactly, and that's what I love about these deep dives, right? We're not just throwing out numbers. We're connecting the dots, looking for those aha moments.
Speaking of aha moments, did any of the companies we talked about today really surprise you?
Honestly, the one that really stuck with me is Equinix. The data center business, I mean, it just seems so rock solid, the backbone of the internet and all. But to think that there might be some crazy new tech coming that even those insiders are worried about, I mean, that's wild.
Makes you wonder what we know that we don't, right? And that's really the key takeaway here for everyone listening. Insider trading data, it's not about predicting the future, with 100% certainty. It's about understanding the risks and the opportunities that insiders are seeing, sometimes before anyone else.
So how can our listeners actually use this information? I mean, should they be dumping their Netflix stock and buying shares in whatever this data center disruptor is going to be.
Whoa, hold on there. Remember, insider trading, it's just one piece of the puzzle, right? It's a starting point, not a, definitive buy or sell signal.
Okay, so no rash decisions just based on these insider moves. What should our listeners be doing instead?
First things first, dig a little deeper into the companies that caught their attention. Look at their financials, read industry reports, pay attention to what's in the news, any big announcements. Basically, see if the insider selling lines up with other information that's out there publicly.
So play detective, right? Gather evidence from all different sources before you jump to any conclusions.
Exactly. And don't forget about the bigger picture. Think about the economy, interest rates, what's happening around the world. All of these things, they can influence stock prices. So factor all that in too.
This has been an awesome deep dive, I got to say. We've gone from a stack of SEC filings to a much deeper understanding of what's really driving the markets.
It's been great joining you.
And to all our listeners, we hope you found this information valuable. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.
Disclaimer. North Breach Limited, Nutstuff trading name, is an appointed representative of Messels Limited, which is authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Nutstuff has made every reasonable effort to ensure the information provided in this communication is correct, but Nutstuff makes no representation nor any warranty as to whether the information is accurate, complete, or up to date. To the extent permitted by law, Nutstuff accepts no responsibility for any errors or misstatements, negligent or otherwise. Nutstuff, its associates, officers, or employees may also have interests in the financial instruments referred to in this information by acting in various roles. The information in this media is confidential. If you are not the intended recipient, you are not authorized to use the information in this media in any way. Nutstuff does not guarantee the integrity of any media or attached files. The view or opinions expressed are the author's own and may not reflect the view or opinions of Nutstuff. Electronic communications carried within the Nutstuff system may be monitored.